Hey, thanks for checking out Nuts and Bolts with Tone, and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to talk about a 6.4 power stroke and a thermostat problem. If you work on 6.4 power strokes, then you know that the thermostats have problems. That truck has dual thermostats. First off, if you ever get a PO 128 code, which is, it'll basically just say coolant thermostat, that code means you got a bad thermostat. So when you pull your thermostat housing off, the housing has a gasket like this, all right? And then you got two thermostats that go into the housing. So they go in the housing like this. So most of the time, when you have this, you can see the underside of it. You can't see the top side of the thermostat when it's in the housing, okay? You can only see the bottom side, because this is what it looks like when it's in the bottom. So you can only see that right there. So you've got one thermostat here with a large cap there. Then you've got another thermostat. Now this one here, and when you have this PO 128, when you pull the housing off, I've never had one that I couldn't visually see there was a problem. Sometimes when you pull the upper hose off, you can see the problem, but most of the time you got to take the housing off. So this one here, you could see, let me turn it so you can see. So this one here, I could see that right there when I pulled the housing off. So if you look from up top, sometimes you can see, you can see that this is torn, but it's really hard to see because the opening is in the center and the two thermostats are offset from each other. So this is your problem for your PO 128 in a 6.4 power stroke. Now, the reason I made this video is because if you follow the procedure for doing this job, they want you to take off the front EGR cooler, which in a lot of times it's really difficult to line back up. You have two bolts and studs in the bottom, and then you have two that go in through the top. And a lot of times, man, one of them just doesn't want to line up, and you're in there with a pry bar, you're twisting and prying, and you're just really trying to get it, to line up, and it's just really difficult. Well, I've never actually pulled the EGR cooler off for a thermostat on this truck. All you have to do is take out the degas bottle and the battery tray, and then there's a bracket that you can take off that exposes the bottom two bolts. Once you do that, you can get all the four bolts out, and then it's just a matter of figuring out how to get it out. Now in this video, I'm going to explain to you how to get the bracket out, the EGR bracket, the EGR cooler bracket, how to get the bracket out that sits on top of the housing, and then how to get the housing out. It's actually not too bad. It just can be a little frustrating trying to get it in just the right spot to get out. But it is a lot easier than pulling the EGR cooler. So let's get into it. Let me show you how to do it right now. All right, so here we go. Right here, we got the 6.4 power stroke. All right, so I'm doing thermostats on this truck. And there's a little tip about this truck. And I realized it yesterday when someone told me that taking off this EGR cooler is a pain. And I totally remembered that a lot of people don't know you don't have to take this cooler off. All right, so I have the hose off, and you can see I have the fan shroud off and all this, right? So it looks like I took a lot of stuff off to get this job done, but you don't actually have to take all that stuff off. I'm doing a fan clutch, so that's why this is all open. So all you have to do to replace a thermostat, replace thermostats in this 6.4 is, so you can see right down here, there's the thermostat housing. So this bracket right here is in the way of the bottom bolts on the thermostat housing. And it's in there. It's kind of tricky. Don't let me lie to you. It's not easy, but it's not as difficult as doing it the book way. So here's all you have to do. If you're not doing a thermostat, and if you're not doing a fan clutch and you're not taking anything out here, all right, all you have to do, here's what I do. I loosen up this CAC tube so I have a little bit of extra room to move around, all right? You need to take out this battery, take out the degas bottle, and degas bottle / battery tray, all right? And then you have room, and then you take out the upper hose. So you got your clip here and your clip down there. You pop your upper hose off, all right? So then what you got to do is, with this out of the way, you have room to come down through here. All right, so I'm going to be able to show you, because I have the fan clutch out to make it easier. All you have to do is, this is the bracket for the EGR cooler right here, okay? So behind this bracket is a small bracket. Now, it is, let's see if I can get in here and show you. All right. So right there is a 13 millimeter bolt right back there. All right. So what you got to do is you got to take this lower EGR cooler clamp off and then slip it around the back of the clamp and take it out. All right. And then this small bracket right here, this is a single bracket by itself. And it has one bolt that goes through it, which is a 13 millimeter that comes through the front. So once you've taken this clamp off, you go through the front right here. You can reach around through the front with the degas bottle off, and you can get the 13 millimeter out, and then this bracket comes out from behind. Now you have access to all the bolts. Now here's how you get it out. This is the tricky part, and it can be a little frustrating. I've only done a few of these, so I'm not an expert at finagling it out of here. However, I've never taken this EGR cooler off, and I work on diesels. So obviously I've done thermostats on these because they always go bad. One of them always goes bad. And I'll show you what it looks like when it goes bad. So there is a black bracket. Let's see. You can see it. Let's see. Okay, right there. That bolt right there. All right, that black bracket. That black bracket sits on top of the thermostat housing, and it has 4 8 millimeter bolts. So once you've got your EGR cooler plate off, this guy right here, once you've got this off and your clamp off and get out of there, you get all your bolts out. All right, once all your bolts are out, you pop this housing loose so it can finagle around and move around. So you have to move it like towards the front and down. You have to slide it around, and then you have to work the black bracket off, and it comes off like it tips. I'll show you with my hand. So it kind of tips forward and kind of down like this to get out from under these fuel lines right here. Actually, the one back here you can't see. There's 2 of them. There's a big one here and a small one. I think it's a fuel line. Anyways, the tricky part is getting it around this fuel line down here. Once you've gotten it out from there, you can slip the bracket out, and then all you do is you take this housing and you push it up, and then the bottom comes out like this, and it slips out. Then you flip it over, pop your gasket out, take your thermostats out, new thermostats, new gasket, slip it back in. Now the trick to this, and the key, is that when you are putting the bracket in, the black bracket that goes over the thermostat housing, you don't need this housing to be sitting all the way down flush. You kind of have to finagle them in together. But it's doable. It took me about 20 minutes from finagling it off and finagling it back on. So I spent about, I think, 20 minutes actually getting the bracket and getting the housing out once I had the other things out of the way. Now you don't have to touch this upper bracket for the EGR cooler. You don't have to touch this clamp. All right, you don't really have to undo this. I only undo the CAC tube just to make it easier, just to give me a little bit of room. Actually, in looking at it, with just doing the thermostat, it actually doesn't save you any room because of this plastic wire harness. So you don't even need to actually take this off. I only loosened it up because I was taking all of the fan clutch stuff off to do the fan clutch. So that is how you do the thermostat on a 6.4. It works really well, and you will be happy to not have to take off this EGR cooler. Okay, so now that I explained to you how to get the thermostat housing in and out, all right, the only thing I didn't show you was because I already had the housing in, and actually yesterday on Instagram, I had posted a little clip of this truck, and somebody messaged me and said, oh man, that front EGR cooler is a pain. And that's actually what reminded me to make this video, because a lot of people don't know that you can do it without taking the EGR cooler out. And so I had already had the housing back in when I made the video explaining how to get it out. But the only thing I didn't explain is how to get the thermostats out. It's not incredibly difficult, pretty sure you can figure it out. But basically, the thermostats sit in the housing like this, all right? There's two little holes, and when you flip it upside down, these 2 points go in the holes, and then there's a mounting point on each side like this. One of them is for this one, and the other one is for this one. So all you have to do is, the easiest thing to do is put the housing in a vise so it holds it tight, and you just take some pliers and you just push it down and turn it, and it'll turn in. You just want to make sure that you have it lined up in the middle here so it doesn't pop out, because I've seen where people have done it and they didn't do it right. Old Saturns had a thermostat similar to this. There's a few vehicles where they didn't do it right, and one ear ends up popping out, and then your thermostat's sitting like this. So then coolant's just going by it, and then you end up with a 128 code, and it's just because somebody didn't put the thermostat in right. Now, I always recommend OEM parts on diesels, especially PowerStrokes, but with thermostats, you should always use OEM thermostats, because you can get a PO 128 in just about every manufacturer will set this code. BMWs, Mercedes, Saturns, it doesn't matter. Fords, they all set it. Well, the worst thing is, sometimes I've seen where service writers sell aftermarket thermostats, and you put them in and it comes back with a 128 code. Looks like you misdiagnosed it, right? No, it's not that you misdiagnosed it, it's that the thermostat was garbage that you put in. And so therefore the computer is seeing a problem because it's not operating like it should. So put OEM thermostats in, so that way you know when you get done, it's all right and there's going to be no issues. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Hope it was informative for you. If you've ever done this and you took the EGR cooler out, I'm hoping that you found this video before you do your next one. It's going to help you get there a lot quicker and a lot faster. Well, quicker, faster, same thing, but a lot less heartache and having to take a whole bunch of stuff off. So anyways, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell, you get notified of all my future content, which you're definitely going to want to see. Also check me out on Instagram at Nuts and Bolts with Tone for my daily life as a mechanic. Show you all kinds of little tricks and tips about this kinds of stuff. And we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.